Welcome back to the Grow Your Nutrition Business podcast. At Healthy Steps Nutrition, we believe something as fundamental as nutrition shouldn't be complicated, which is why we focus on a simple, habit-based approach. We know that helping your clients become the best and healthiest versions of themselves isn't just about what they eat or coming to the gym a few hours a week. We, as gym owners and coaches, have to focus on a holistic approach, looking at support systems, stress management, sleep, mindset, lifestyle, and of course, exercise and nutrition. I'm your host, Nicole Coyne, registered dietitian and founder of Healthy Steps Nutrition, CrossFit HSN, and HSN Mentoring. I'm also the author of The Basics of Nutrition Coaching, CrossFit Preferred Nutrition course. In this podcast, I'm going to teach you how to make one step at a time to becoming the best nutrition coach and building an awesome habit-based coaching program. Today's podcast guest is Amanda Haar. She is a lead dietitian at Healthy Steps Nutrition, helping all of our women looking for nutrition support related to hormone health. She also works with a lot of families. She has a ton of certifications and is a wealth of knowledge related to hormone health. Hormone health is a popular topic, and a lot of women are asking about support and nutrition recommendations based on where they're at in their cycle and where they're at overall, premenopausal, postmenopausal. And it's important as health and wellness nutrition coaches that we understand some of the basics around hormone health. So today we are diving in. I hope you enjoy. There are a few additional episodes on Nutrition Made Simple, all related to hormone health. So if you are super interested in all the content that we're talking about today, click the link in the show notes and you can get links to those Nutrition Made Simple podcast episodes also related to hormone health. That podcast is a direct to client podcast. So a lot of the coaches, gym owners that have partnered with Healthy Steps Nutrition use that podcast as additional resources and support for their clients. All right, well, I hope you enjoy this episode. We will get to this episode right after this message. All right, I have talked about the Healthy Steps Nutrition Live Workshop for a while now. We are less than 2 months out. It is going to be 2 packed days of learning, networking with other health professionals, fitness professionals, and just having so much fun in Nashville, Tennessee. This event is open for gym owners and coaches. So if you are looking to expand your knowledge, add more tools in your toolbox, connect with other health, wellness coaches and gym owners looking to provide a holistic approach inside their gym, we would love for you to join us in Nashville, Tennessee. There's only 200 tickets. We have about 50 tickets left to this event, so make sure that you click the link in the show notes and lock in your spot today. We hope to see you in Nashville, Tennessee on September 16th and 17th. All right, let's get to this episode. Amanda, welcome back to the Grow Your Nutrition Business podcast.
Thanks for having me again.
I'm excited. This is the second episode that you are on. Today we are talking all about hormone health. It has been a common theme that more coaches are interested in it, and also more clients are interested in their own health related to hormones. You've been passionate about it for quite some time.
Right. Over a decade is when it all started, actually. So it's been so cool to see how much more we've learned in the past decade about hormones, about fertility, just like all of that goes along with that we have so many more actionable steps to kind of like biohack or optimize our well-being through just our hormones.
Why should coaches care about this, or at least do their own research for themselves and in regards to helping their clients?
Right. So the more we understand about how our hormones affect our success, right, as far as our progress goes, it's really going to help with all the steps along the way. So our hormones influence our productivity, our nutrition, our exercise, our energy levels, our relationships. That's a lot of things right now. Like we're kind of covering the whole spectrum of what is in our life, because they influence actually how our mind operates and how our other hormones like cortisol levels are throughout the month.
Most women have no idea any of this information. And you recently, by recently, I mean at the beginning of this year, did a hormone health 6-week challenge just to get the information out and kind of help people understand it. I will tell you, so I listened to all those videos before we put them in the app, and I learned so much. You are a wealth of knowledge when it comes down to it. And it really came down to the different phases in your cycle and understanding what's going on with your hormones in those different phases, and how to look at your exercise, your productivity, your mood, and just figuring out what's going to best serve you. And a lot of it kind of came down to giving yourself a little bit grace for the reasons why you are feeling a certain way.
Exactly. Right. So, and the first step there is, right, like, where am I in my cycle right now? Which we kind of talked about 2 different really easy ways to figure out that foundation, because if you don't know what phase you're in your cycle, it's really hard to kind of like make decisions based upon that. So kind of 2 pretty simple ways, like as far as if you have a very regular cycle and some people have symptoms of ovulation, then it's pretty clear to know like when you're ovulating throughout a month. But if you have an irregular cycle, or if you find that you ovulate at different times of the month, basal body temperature tracking can be a really helpful method. And it's taking your basal body temp for, all of 10 seconds in the morning, every morning, right when you wake up. And then you chart what your temperature is. And it's so cool how we receive this, first we're putting dots on the line graph, and then we see this line graph and shows right after we ovulate, we should be seeing that temperature increasing, which shows us, where ovulation was and what phase we're in.
Super interesting. I know one of the apps, and it's a free app that helped me kind of understand, and it has some cool things related to your cycle and your mood, exercise, sleep patterns, concentration. I mean, there's so many different factors that are all related to it. Is the Flow app. It's like a pink and white little Flow app. I'll tell it a funny story. One of our clients, she had said like, "Hey, I'm having these weird dreams at night whenever I eat out." And she was relating the food that she was eating to her having these like weird dreams and not sleeping well. But I know from the Flow app that during different times of my cycle that insomnia is something that happens. And she ended up correlating, okay, when she's in this phase of her cycle, like she is going to have, maybe some problems sleeping, like that's one of her symptoms. And she had some weird dreams, and it happened every time at a specific phase of her cycle. And what the cool thing happened after that is that she was like, okay, I understand why it's happening. And now I'm not freaking out that something's weird.
Right, exactly. And you figured out related to that's happening. And so, you can take steps to help improve your hormones at the phase of the cycle. So hopefully we can reduce the chance of that happening too.
So let's just talk about a couple of things related to recommendations for coaches when coaching clients that are impacting hormone health and things to think about around your cycle.
Right, definitely. So one thing that we think about, especially if we're tracking biometrics through an in-body scan or measurements, hopefully we're doing both, is that we want to be aware of how the body fluctuates throughout a woman's menstrual cycle. So ideally, we'd want to be taking those measurements around the same time in the same phase of the cycle every month. Now, this can be a little bit tricky if someone has, an irregular cycle or longer than a month-long cycle or shorter than a month-long cycle, but just kind of like in an ideally best practice world, that would be awesome to do. And if you aren't able to do the measurements at the same time of the cycle, that's where you just can be aware. Let's say you're getting larger waist measurements than you're expecting, and it ends up that they're, nearing their period. That could be just really related back to the bloating that just kind of naturally occurs a little bit during that phase, which can be really just helpful for motivation for clients. Because sometimes when they get negative results, when they've been working so hard, it's, really kind of can be discouraging. So to kind of understand that, okay, like this is probably just a little extra water retention, and then we'll see this change in the next few weeks is sometimes really helpful.
I know that's one of the first things that we look at in in-body scans. If the numbers didn't go the trend that we would expect, let's look at the water weight. And almost every single time, the water weight has decreased, which looks like the muscle mass has gone down and body fat percentage has gone up. So it negatively impacts the client's results, and it's super frustrating for them. So understanding that, and again, tracking biometrics around a consistent time would be super, super helpful. One of the things that you talked about in the 6-week hormone challenge was relating your cycle and your hormones and different fluctuations to the types of workouts that you do.
Right. And I think this is really, really cool, especially if for me, I now realize a lot of my life, I've always been kind of like an over exerciser. I love movement. I love exercise. But if we're doing that, especially during the second half of our cycle, that can lend to overstimulating cortisol, right? Which we know that tends towards more inflammation and honestly, more irritation. And it's great to think about like in whatever your client does, right? Like they might not be able to do a combination of Pilates and yoga and running and all these different things throughout their workout. But let's say like if they're a CrossFitter, they may be able to make modifications when necessary, especially because in the Women's Health Challenge, it was really cool to have a lot of coaches participate and a lot of them do CrossFit. And one specifically mentioned that I have to be careful in my week or two before my period comes because I know I'm less coordinated and I'm a little bit more clumsy. So I'm more apt to hurt myself during that time. So she's like, she kind of put the pieces together that she's just aware of that. So to prevent injury, which we know that is really important to help continuing to see progress, that's a great thing to bring up if someone is struggling with that, or bring it up before they even mention it to, because they might not be aware at all that this is the cause of that.
Gives you a little bit of grace,
Exactly.
Allows you to give yourself a little bit of grace. One of the most interesting things, and as a business owner, like we're all about productivity for myself and like figuring out when am I going to do my best work and lining up my days. One of the most interesting things that you talked about in the challenge and just we've had conversations about is the type of work you do related to where you are in your cycle. So like more creative things versus more checkboxy things versus other types of work that you do and kind of planning that out related to your cycle. And the cool thing is when, especially business owners, like you have a little bit of flexibility, right?
Exactly.
And even coaching, like coaches, especially nutrition coaches, if you're making content or doing like video content or doing nutrition talks where you're going to be interacting with more people, why not build it into a time that it's going to be best suited for you if you have flexibility in a month?
Right, exactly. And it's fun to see like in hindsight, right? Like, first of all, like to kind of like go through it and then just be aware of what it is. You'll realize that there are different things that just feel really good to do in that time. And we always want to feel good about the work that we're doing, right? Like be excited about it and feel like we have the energy for it. So if you have creative energy, go with it. If you have the, organizational energy, go with it. I kind of wish I had that all month long, but...
Me too. Right. That's why we have Melinda for that. Yes. I think it's a really cool thing. There's so much that we've talked about. Actually, hormone health is the number one thing that we've actually had podcasts on the Nutrition Made Simple podcast. There's so many different podcast episodes that we've talked about, and we'll go back to your one actionable tip at the end of this, but we've talked about hormone metabolism and your cycle, talked about 3 tips to help you optimize your hormone health and also nutrition, hormones, and your health. So lots of different things that we've talked about related to nutrition, health, hormones. So if you're really interested in this as a coach and you're looking, how can I integrate some of these tips and some tricks to help my clients, go to those episodes, listen to them yourself. We will link them in the show notes and then also send them to your clients. A lot of times if your clients hear something from someone else instead of you and you're keeping them accountable to that thing, it's going to be really impactful. So, send them one of those podcast episodes and hopefully they understand and start giving themselves a little bit of grace, and they're going to end up seeing better results and just know their body a little bit better.
Exactly. Right. And I have to say, even just personally, like after utilizing this information, plus, just exercise, nutrition, like all of it, like I personally feel stronger and healthier than I've ever in my life. And you usually don't expect to get stronger and healthier, right, as you go through your life. So it's really cool to experience that.
Absolutely. All right. As we wrap up today, what is the one thing that you think would be super valuable for coaches to think about as they're addressing hormones or just integrating the conversation about hormones with their nutrition clients?
Right. I mean, so a lot of the starting point is probably like just understanding what the different phases of the menstrual cycle is. And that's where you can definitely go back to those podcasts. I would say definitely listen to the podcast. You have kind of that bite-sized information. And then as far as like one-on-one with clients too, and we were talking about this earlier, but being aware that during the luteal phase, which is generally the 2 weeks or so between ovulation and a period, our metabolism increases by about 100 to 300 calories a day. And this is where a lot of women feel like they get derailed. You know, they're like, oh, I'm so hungry, I need to eat the walls. But if they're sticking to the same macros that they were 2 weeks before that, they're probably really hungry. And that's why they feel like they are going off the rails, because when we don't let ourselves have enough, then we want all the things. So just being aware that you might even want to help them shift how much they're regularly eating if they find that they are at a big deficiency during that time.
Just giving them a little bit of grace, saying, hey, have a little bit of a bigger snack, or let's add a snack. If you're feeling hungry, listen to your body, especially during that phase. So super helpful information. I think this is going to be a great starting point for many coaches. I know, one of the things that you're involved with is the coach development. So once a month, you're coming into our private group and talking with coaches about different things. And every single time we end up bringing up hormone health. Number one, because you're passionate about it, but number two, because coaches are asking about it. Their clients are asking about it. And if you're not able to address these things with their clients, you're not able to truly help them using a holistic approach. So thank you for all that you do and all the support that you give our coaches.
It's my pleasure, Nicole.
I hope you enjoyed that episode with Amanda Haar. And she is a wealth of knowledge, and I'm so excited to have her back on this podcast as a regular guest so that we can provide coaches and health professionals more tools in their toolbox to become effective coaches. At the end of the day, our goal at HSN Mentoring is to help gym owners build this holistic framework and really support their clients become the best version of themselves through nutrition, fitness, and accountability. But we understand that nutrition just isn't about what the foods they eat. There's so many other aspects that go into someone's nutrition decisions that they're making, like how they're managing stress and sleep and the support system, the lifestyle that they have. All of these factors are what makes up the Healthy Steps Nutrition Framework. If you are looking for more support to become a nutrition coach, if you are looking to get an inside scoop and really understand how we coach people at Healthy Steps Nutrition, we do have a standalone nutrition coaching course. It is the CrossFit preferred nutrition course called The Basics of Nutrition Coaching. In this course, you will have all of the information that you need, the fundamental skills to become an effective nutrition coach. Not only that, you're going to see what it looks like from a client's perspective. There is 6 weeks of nutrition coaching with this program. We're so excited to be relaunching this course September 1st. If you want to join this initial group after the course has been relaunched, now that we're including nutrition coaching and there's some group calls, a ton of support to help coaches feel really confident, click the link in the show notes. All right, I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and we'll see you back here next week.